Good afternoon. This is an open meeting. The Affordable Housing Trust is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, Affordable Housing Trust is convening via video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note the meeting is being recorded and all attendees are participating via video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless note otherwise. We'll turn to the first item on the agenda, but before we do so, permit me to cover ground rules for effective and clear conduct of the business to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. They conclude their remarks. The chair will go down a line of members, inviting each by name to provide comment, questions, or motions. Hold until you are called. Please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. For any response, please wait until the floor is yielded to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after the members of the board have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to the members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by the and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote will be taken by a roll call for the meeting. And let me move to the agenda. Open session. So we'll call the meeting of October 1st to order and look for an approval of the agenda. Christy, do you have any edits or changes to the agenda as it reads?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Vote by roll call. Forrest Bell.
Aye.
Tom Dixon.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Abby DiMolina.
Aye.
Penny Dye.
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan's an aye. That's everybody. Item number 3, public comment for items not listed on the agenda. Is there any members of the public that would like to make public comment? Seeing none, any board members as members of the public? Penny?
I don't know if this is appropriate, but Abby, did you have your baby yet?
You can ask, and no, I did not have the baby yet, but I'm gonna go in later. So after
Like today?
Yeah, tonight actually. So
That
surprise! I got I told Christy
right
I was
there.
trying to make the meeting, and I did. So
Good job.
yeah.
We appreciate it.
So soon enough, you'll have the next Nantucketer, because they told me at the hospital, they're like, you're next in line. So that'll be next.
And the father's birthday is tomorrow.
I know, and it's your and the father's birthday tomorrow, so that's the goal. The baby will arrive on everybody's birthday.
Woohoo! I was born on my mother's birthday. It was exciting. Is exciting.
Yeah, so that's
Good luck. Be well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I feel like it's appropriate. It's town business, maybe. It's a new town member, I guess.
Yeah, future voter.
Yeah, future voter. There you go.
All right. Seeing no more public comment, we'll close public comment and look for an approval of the minutes. Minutes of September 10th. These were circulated for proofing. Christy, go ahead.
And then this morning I recirculated. There's just a few minor edits, mainly just spelling and grammatical edits that I circulated. So we would be making a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
We can do them collectively, correct? Great.
Correct.
Does anybody like to make a motion for the minutes of September 10th and September 13th as amended for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Penny. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Thank you, Forrest. By roll call, Forrest Bell.
Aye.
Tom Dixon.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Abby DiMolina.
Aye.
Penny Dye.
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan's an aye. Moving on to application for 9 Blewett Court for CCAP. Christy, do you want to go over this packet in any way?
I just wanted to let you guys know this packet came before us just at the beginning of the summer. At the time, the buyer did not have a closing date, and so we held off until the full application was complete. They now have a closing date for the end of this month, and everything is completed in the packet. And so we're just looking for a motion to approve.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing them, would anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Tom. In a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Abby. A vote by roll call. Forrest Bell?
Aye.
Tom Dixon?
Aye.
Mike Browers?
Aye.
Abby DiMolina?
Aye.
And Penny Dye?
Aye.
Brian Sullivan's an aye. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to a review of deed restrictions created since 2019. Christy, I'll throw to you to lead this.
Perfect. I'm just gonna share my screen really quickly. And this is included in the public packet that's posted on the town website. So Penny recently made a request to the housing office to put together a list of what has been created since town meeting, really started to ramp up the funding approval, and what has been created with both CPC and town meeting funds. So this is just looking at things since 2019, and it's projects that the Affordable Housing Trust has been involved with. Meg, I see your hand up.
I think Chantal's in the waiting room.
Oh, sorry. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Thank you. So this goes over what has been created since 2019. To date, we've created 121 units of deed restricted, either home or rental opportunities. These are capturing everything up to 240% of area and median income, but the majority of these units have been at 110% or below, including units at Wiggles Way only cover up to 150%, and the Habitat homes are at 80% or below. In the second column, I have units that are kind of under construction or in the pipeline for deed restrictions. And so this includes the Richmond Gooseberry Place, which is scheduled to get COs in the next couple of weeks. So that will add 55 more units. And then we have the vacant land that was purchased by the Affordable Housing Trust. And the RFP is scheduled to go out this week. So we're very excited to see those hopefully get a lot of attention and bids, and we'll be able to see those in the pipeline in the next couple of years. So that's an additional 125 units that are in the pipeline. And the last column is just units that the trust has been discussing in executive session. So they have not been finalized. But once the trust really kind of considers something and it sounds like it's moving in a positive direction, I earmark those funds to make sure that we have the funds available for the project and keep a running tally with our finance director. So as the projects evolve, we're constantly updating this list, but this was the most recent list as of September 30th. And this is the potential to add another 135 units in the pipeline. And so I just wanted to bring this to the attention of the board, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I see Penny has her hand up, but I'll go through you, Brian.
Thank you. I asked for this because I think for me as an individual, I need a more succinct way to tell the story of what we are accomplishing, and this does it. And I was recently on a little research group, and they focused heavily on housing and human service issues here. And I was able, without getting into detail, to share some of these numbers. And it's impactful when you can do it in a simplistic way. So thank you so much for doing this. And we need to sort of retool our message to the community, I think, to make it more clear what it is we're doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Penny. Christy, go ahead.
If I could just respond, it was a really helpful exercise to get the housing office to really dig into this. It made us start to think about other ways that we can get this information out to the community. And ironically, we did have a constituent reach out yesterday with ideas of how to put ads in the newspaper just with simple terms, like we've created X number of units, or we're this close to hitting our 10% goal. You know, little points that are succinct that we can get to the community, and then they can always go to our website to find out more. So we're working on other graphics with the communications department that's going to show all deed restricted units, including things that Housing Nantucket is putting online. And so it'll encompass things prior to 2019 as well, and just to really see where affordable and attainable housing is spread out across the community.
Go ahead, Abby.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that sounds, Christy, that sounds great, because I think, you know, when people think about town meeting, they're like, hey, we approved $80 million, and like wanting to know where it is. So being able to show like, hey, we actually have numbers going against that would go a really long way in the community, because I for one, being someone who hadn't been involved, like I'm surprised that there's so many units. And so I think that that would be really impactful to kind of get that message out of like, hey, you know, we've created over, you know what I mean? Like we're going to have at some point almost 400 units of affordable housing that we've created with this $80 million. Like, I think people really understanding that and like seeing that progress is really important. And like Penny said, just like quick snapshots of like numbers will make a difference to people, because I think if people realize that like, hey, the money goes somewhere and like we can see concrete progress, I just think it will really help continue to like drive home the mission, but also people understanding that like we're not just like getting this money. And a lot of times, I mean, Tom, I'm sure you hear this all the time of people being like, we vote for all this money, and then like what happens to it? So it's a good way to show like the cause and effect. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Abby. To you, Penny.
Yeah, just I wonder, Christy, if there's a way, if this is even appropriate, I don't know, but to show sort of where we are with safe harbor, because when you put these numbers on it and you look down here, and this is almost it's 375 or more units about created, and on top of what we already had, and I know we're shooting for something in the low 600s now, but would that maybe just on the website, would it be appropriate to have a kind of meter where we are with safe harbor until the next decennial census? Thank you. Just a thought.
Thanks, Penny. My comment, Christy, would be just additionally, the past units that are created was full spend amounts. The second column may need future investment, and the third column would be some acquisition and then some future investment on development. So I just want to make sure that we're understanding that the 83 is not necessarily a completed unit number. So I don't know how we evolve that out in the chart or the graph, but in the explanation process.
Yeah, but you can add something at the bottom that kind of explains that these are the funds to date.
Yep. Meg?
I don't want to repeat what was already said, but I just want to say I agree with the previous comments, and I think this is really helpful and a great communication tool for the community. And when I don't know if this will be on a future agenda, so just putting this thought out there for now, when you're creating content for the community at large, if we can also dig into a little bit of like what kind of opportunities we're offering people, whether it's you know, rentals, ownership, deed restrictions for the year-round deed restriction program, or like what ways, at what price levels we're getting people into housing, and just sort of tell like more of a human story. I would love for people to understand how many families are actually impacted by this amount of money and how this is moving forward. I think we have a great story to tell there, so just wanted to throw that out there, and if I can be helpful, I'm here.
Thank you, Meg. Chantal?
I think, Christy, thank you for putting this together. I sent you an email yesterday how excited I was about the newsletter. So great work. But I think this is a great opportunity for our little communications subcommittee to get back together and just talk about different ways we can help support you as well. Because we do so much and there's so much information. And at the same time, we're getting so much feedback from the community as well that I think it would be great for us to put our heads together and work on this. If you're open to that.
Absolutely.
Any more on this? Seeing none, I think we close this up. Let's see. Item 8, review ZBA request for written comments on Surfside Crossing, 40B development. Christy, can we go over the timeline on this request and what is due? Penny?
I just have a quick question. Are we being asked to review this because they're considering it a new application?
So what the ZBA is requesting is for written comments, concerns, or recommendations based on the permit application that's in front of this in front of the ZBA. So in their packet from their September 5th meeting, it shows the changes from the original proposal, in which the Affordable Housing Trust did provide comments to what the new proposal is, which has moved from a mixture of standalone homes and condos to an all condominium. So what I basically have put on the agenda is a request from the ZBA for the trust to review the project and respond by November 14th. I put it on today's agenda to first hear if there's kind of initial feedback or comments or questions from you that I can then take to the ZBA to get clarification. And then we will have it on our October 15th meeting as well. And so at that meeting, we'll either need to finalize our comments and recommendations, or we will need to schedule a special meeting because we won't have another meeting before November 14th after the October 15th meeting. So we can pass it back to Brian to open it up for any questions from the board.
All right, great. Thank you. Chantal, I think your hand up is a lingering from previous, but I just want to make sure. Okay, you're good. Forrest?
Yes, I just have a quick question. I did review the letter that you attached to the email dated July 10th, 2018. Those were the ZBA's initial concerns, correct? And then what we're reviewing is to make sure that the amended application has actually kind of remedied those concerns. Is that correct?
Or if we have any additional questions or comments about the new proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Any members with comments, questions? So I think our goal is any written comments for our next meeting to be delivered to Christy. What things, do we want to cover? For me personally, I think from the last application that the ZBA reviewed to where they are now, the developer has stated that their interest is 75% of the units to be year round with a restriction. And I hope that that is a commitment we can see happen through either deed restrictions with buyers coming in, putting deed restrictions on, or down payment assistance, or whatever that looks like. But I hope that there's a way to get to that path of 75%. I'll come to Penny and then to Abby. That's kind of my only first thought.
Just quickly to kind of hop on what you just said, Brian. We need to be cognizant of committed to year round does not mean year round affordable. Okay. And they're two distinctly different types of housing. And I want to remind us, we're not regulatory either. So I think it's interesting they're even asking us for an opinion. Just my comment. Thanks.
Thanks, Penny. Abby?
Penny, I think it's a good point, but I think everybody wants to, cross their T's and dot their I's with this one. But all joking aside, I think Penny, you made a really good point, as you did Brian, which I think it's really important that we emphasize for us the 75% year round, but that it's a mix of what we're calling like affordable attainable, because I think that we've seen that the attainable like bucket, the higher, end is where a lot of people have been struggling. And especially when I was reading the initial letter, supposedly about, wanting to have someone for, a police officer have somewhere to live. Like, I think that's really where we can say that, like, that's where having it up to the attainable level will really help us with our, town municipal workers, whether it's teachers, firefighters, police officers, people who work for the town, just like administration, any of those. Like, I think that will be really impactful, because I think that that is probably where we see the biggest need now, is because it's a lot harder to find those programs. And I guess my other question was, and Christy, I don't know, I know you had mentioned have we like worked out a mechanism if we did do some sort of like deed restriction, like how that would work?
There you, Brian. In conversations with the select board and our finance director, I think the best approach is for potential buyers of the units at Surfside Crossing to utilize our already existing programs. So in the 80% restricted units have the opportunity to apply for closing cost assistance. If there's any development where the developer or other organizations step in and want to place affordability restrictions, our closing cost assistance goes up to 175% of AMI. So those would be tools. We do have the year-round deed restriction pilot program that we have finalized the last meeting. So that would be able to put a year-round occupancy deed restriction on a unit. So these are kind of programs that already exist, and we would prefer to see those programs be utilized for people interested in living in these units versus the town kind of
doing something new.
The other thing to consider that we just haven't released yet is the fact that seasonal communities allow for just a year-round occupancy without an income restriction. And so that might be another tool in our toolbox, by the time these are built and coming to fruition.
And Christy, if I may, if I understand correctly, we expect HLC to come out with a little bit better understanding of the seasonal communities opportunities December, January, for us to then be able to understand how to implement programs like that. Where the current pilot program mentioned for the deed restrictions only up to 240% AMI.
Correct.
So, okay, it sounds like that there's a handful of notes there to kind of put together for an approval for the next meeting. And then as people are thinking about this over the course of the next 2 weeks, we can deliver any additional written comments. Christy?
So just to recap, we just want to make sure that there's still a focus on at least 75% being year round, and that we'd want to see a mix of affordable and attainable housing options. And then I would just encourage everybody to look at the ZBA submission. There's a review of past submission, the original one, and then the new one, where I see some of the benefits of it aligning a little bit more with our housing production plan, in terms of the previous submission had 4 and 5 bedroom standalone homes, whereas this has more 1 and 2 bedroom condominiums. So just looking at some of those things and see how it aligns or doesn't align with our housing production plan and our select board strategic plan, those types of comments will be important to provide back to the ZBA.
Thank you, Christy. I'm going to come to Meg Browers. Megan, I did see your hand go up, and I will come to you as soon as the board finishes.
Thanks,
Go ahead,
Brian.
Meg.
Thanks, Brian. I was just curious and looking at, I wasn't on the board when the letter was sent back in 2018. I'm just curious what communication was had between the Affordable Housing Trust and Surfside Crossing developers, or however that might have occurred in response to the concerns we had back in 2018 in terms of like, you know, fire truck access and just public safety issues, open space. There was like sort of a list of concerns that the Affordable Housing Trust included in their letter. And I'm just curious if we have like a formal response or additional documentation on that.
You don't know that I do or we do.
I can follow up on that. I was not part of the housing office at that time, but I can dig and find out a little bit more information.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other members before we open to the public? Tom?
Yep, Mr. Chair, I was just going to make a quick comment on process. As far as I understand it, what happens is that the town has asked all departments that are relevant to submit commentary, basically to the select board, and then the select board finalizes that package or block of comments and then submits it to the ZBA. So in a way, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's the town is the town in a certain way, but it really, as far as I understand it, it's going to come to us at SB to say, yes, here's this full submission of comments from town departments, et cetera, to the ZBA.
Christy, with that information, we just should make sure we have our dates for our next meeting lined up, right? And if we need to call something to get them in prior to. All right, with that, Megan?
Thank you, Brian. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Can you hear me, Brian? Okay.
We can.
Excellent. Hey, I was just wondering, sorry, there's a delay on my end.
We're going to wait for you, Megan. It's a little hard to hear and understand.
I was just wondering if any of the stakeholders or anybody from the town or the Affordable Housing Trust, whether
Megan, we're having a really tough connection. What we heard was you're wondering about stakeholders, the town, the trust, and then we didn't hear anything. We can't hear you now. Megan, we're holding for you for a minute.
I have full service.
I just heard full service. I can't tell if you're repeating yourself or it's a weird delay.
I don't know if you.
We're getting less than 50% of your commentary.
I will. I'll try to call back.
You're going to call back. Okay. Okay. Are there other members of the public that have joined the meeting that want to take a moment for commentary? Okay. So we'll give Megan a minute or so to try and reconnect, and then we'll move on from there. Christy, do you want to share anything else on this while we have the moment? You're good?
Megan. Yeah, Megan's coming back in right now.
Okay. Hey, Megan, we see that you've come back in. You're not on mute. Are you connected? Hands up. Floor is yours. You're on mute. We see that you've joined. We don't hear anything. Want to give you the opportunity, Megan, but we don't hear you. Okay, what do we do here? Move on? Give her another 30 seconds?
Oh, I have a suggestion. Could she put her question in the chat perhaps, and then we could answer it that way?
There's no chat on these meetings. I could say I'd recommend keeping the item open. We can go to the next agenda item and she's coming back in, or we can try one more time.
Okay, well, let's do that. So we'll see if she can get to a better connection, and we'll move on to the next item. We'll keep it open and then come back. The next item is.
Sorry, Brian, can you hear me yet?
We can hear you now. We were going to do the next item while you got to a better signal, and then keep it open.
Is this okay, or do you want me to wait?
Yes, it sounds like we can hear you. We haven't moved on yet, so let's keep it open.
Okay.
Go ahead. Floor is yours.
So sorry about that. I'll be super quick.
We now lost you. You're underwater. It's Megan, you're garbly.
If any representative from the Affordable Housing Trust or the town,
Megan,
whether it be like yourself or Chris.
Mr. Chair?
Megan, you're
any better?
You're not yet. No, you're still
Any
underwater. Penny, you had a question or a comment? No? Okay.
Is it any better yet, Brian? I'm really sorry.
It's like one word here and there. I don't know if it's consistent or not. I heard you say any better, clearly, but then nothing else.
I'll try to ask the question then. I'm wondering if there's anything in writing that a member of the Affordable Housing Trust, yourself, Christy, or a town representative has with regards to making this year-round housing with the developer.
So, go ahead, Christy.
I was going to say, we issued a joint statement between the select board and the developers of Surfside Crossing in April of 2023 around the commitment to keep it as close to 75% year-round as possible.
Is there anything, an actual agreement that would be any kind of legally binding, I guess, for lack of a better term? Because I don't feel as though the joint statement was necessarily something they would have to uphold if you're looking for 75% year-round housing. I just didn't know if there had been any further progress from that joint statement to have something a little bit more ironed out and definitive and solid for the town's behalf to be giving concessions to the developer.
Hang on, Megan. Abby?
Well, I think, wasn't that one of the things that we were going to put in our comments for, like, once we consolidate all our comments for the November, is to ask for that actually to, like, be in writing and as Christy mentioned, like, utilize some of the programs we already have. But I think that I believe that was at the time that we wanted to get it in writing, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what we discussed today, Abby. Yes. And to my knowledge, since the last joint statement, there's been no written any agreement as far as I'm aware. Megan. Tom?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just say I haven't seen anything in my email or my discussions with town admin or anybody that was anything close to an agreement or a proposal or anything. So maybe that's coming. I have no idea, but nothing that I've seen.
Any follow-up questions, Megan?
No, I think that's it. I just was trying to see if there had been any progress moving forward from that joint statement, or if that was kind of the joint statement was maybe dead in the water, or there wasn't follow-up on it.
I think there's a hope to see 75%, but we don't know what's going to be approved at this point. So I think we're all waiting to see if anything, if something gets approved or nothing gets approved, or where we're at. I think that's where we're.
Okay, so along that, is it 75% of what gets approved, not necessarily 75% of 156 units then? Is that what the hope is?
I can't speculate on the hope because there's like, we don't know what we're talking about. At the moment, the application, my understanding was 156 units, and so 75%, I think, is the, was my hope and goal, or the majority of it to be year round. But I think at this point we don't know what's next, so we'll see what's next, and we'll make an.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
An opinion at that point. I think it's, we don't know what's in front of us.
Yeah, no, and I think a percentage is a good way to go versus saying 75 units for, like 75%. So I was just trying to make that clarification. Is it percentage or is it 75 units, and has that been hashed out? So thank you guys very much, and my apologies for the crappy service.
No worries. All good. No control. Any more comment on this one? So written stuff for the next meeting, we'll approve written comments at the next meeting as an action item, and we'll move that on to the select board from there. With that, we will move on to item 8. Request for approval of execution of purchase and sale for 71 Surfside. So Tom, Penny, you're recusing. Tom,
I'm gonna hop off and then hop back on.
Okay, I don't know that you need to hop off, but just not vote.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop off. I'm more comfortable doing it this way. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough.
Tom,
I'm gonna pass the meeting to you as I had previously recused.
Okay, sounds good. So our next agenda item is request for approval and execution of purchase and sale agreement for 71 Surfside Road. So we have, of course, considered this, and we also talked about this at Select Board Executive. And I'll pass it over to Christy to intro the item, please.
Thank you. So this is a standalone house that the Affordable Housing Trust has considered. It was something that was brought to us from the owners before it went to the open market. So we had a sneak peek at the unit. It did end up going on the open market, but we were able to secure an appealing offer. We considered this for both affordable housing and municipal employee housing, and the trust felt that it was a good investment considering that it was currently used as a year-round rental and previously as a year-round ownership. And we wanted to keep that housing stock that's already year-round staying year-round. So the long-term plan is still in development for this, but we see several options with this in terms of the property being able to be both a rental or a home ownership opportunity with a deed restriction up to 240%. So with the recusal of Brian and Penny, I was looking for a motion for the board to authorize Tom to sign the purchase and sale agreement on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust.
Thank you, Christy. What's the pleasure of the board? Any questions or entertain a motion?
I'll make the motion to authorize Tom to sign on the behalf of the trust, or to make the offer or whatever. Is that, sorry, I didn't do it in the official language. Is that
second?
To execute the purchase and sale?
Yeah, to sign and execute the purchase and sales agreement for 71 Surfside.
Great. Thank you, Abby. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Meg. All those in favor by roll call. Abby?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
Forrest?
Aye.
Chantal?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Or the chair pro tem votes aye. So pass it back over to Brian.
Thank you, Tom. Other business. October 15th, 12:30, next meeting. Anything else that we weren't expecting added in there? Meg?
I just wanted to let you guys know that I will not be able to join the 15th. I have another commitment that's going to go until about 1:30. But I'll hop on then.
Great. Move to board comments. Any board comments? Seeing none, we'll look for a motion to adjourn regular session, not to return to regular session for the purpose of executive session for the discussion of real estate where a negotiating position may have a detrimental effect on the body's ability to negotiate. I won that one.
So
Anybody want to make that motion? Chantal, did you just say so moved?
I did.
Oh, Abby, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, great. Abby, and then Forrest by roll call. Forrest Bell.
Aye.
Tom Dixon.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Abby DeMolina.
Aye.
Tom Murphy.
Aye.
Great. Brian Sullivan's aye. So we'll move to the next session.
Thank you.